Are we really hearing truth, or is it being withheld from us? Are we being lied to? Well, there's a new study that showed that Lacey Media is dying and it's losing tons of money. Is it because people are not finding trustworthy information from it? Absolutely. Not only that, we're going to talk about a real poll that just came out, something that should encourage us. But also what scares me the most is what this pollster said. It says we're at the top and we're lonely up here because for some reason we're the only ones reporting the truth. One more shocking revelation. There was a plot to take the former president's life. And we're not talking about the one that just happened just a few weeks ago. There's another plot. And guess what? He came into the country to make this attempt on Trump. The sad thing is he was let in by our own government. Crazy, isn't it? We've been lied to a good bit. What about AI-generated photos of these big rallies? Is that true or not? Let's dive in. Hey guys, welcome to our channel, The Max. We are so delighted that you're here. We humbly ask if you do like this content that you give us a thumbs up and you also subscribe to the channel. Remember, we give something away to our subscribers each and every month. Last month we gave a silver prepper bar away. We're going to do the same thing from Genesis Gold. We're giving another prepper bar away this month. So please make sure that you are subscribed. That's a few $100s worth of value that we're willing to give to you just to say thank you for coming to our channel. Now let's talk about some of these stories. I think we need to hit on some stories that I think that we've been led astray on, we've been shaded on, and I think when we start seeing true independent journalism and we start seeing true facts come out, it allows us to really find truth in what's going on. Now first, let's jump into a comment that I love was made. Now, if you heard last week that there's been a lot of states, a lot of Republican states saying that they're going to go back to a paper ballot. Well, you know, the Democrats are up in arms saying I cannot believe we're doing that. I cannot believe we're doing that. It's dangerous to do paper ballots. Well, just this week, Smartmatic billionaire from Florida got arrested for bribery charges. Well, guess what Smartmatic also helped formulate? And guess what he was accused of a few years back? Manipulating votes on his own systems. Well, now we know that he's been bribed in other business transactions. So how honest is this guy? Not only that, not only do they arrest him, I want to read a quote from just a few years ago, from 2019, from Kamala. Listen to this. Paper ballots are the smartest and safest way to ensure your votes, that they will be secure against the foreign actors. Russia can't hack a piece of paper like they can a computer. We introduced the Secure Elections Act to ensure that elections should be safeguarded, and we must be ready. We need to go back to paper ballots. Now that was from Kamala in 2019. What's changed? What's changed with the Democrats? Well, it's because they've probably found other ways to somehow make elections longer, and just like they said, well, I mean, a piece of paper can't be hacked, but computers can. Is that why we want to put our whole election system on computers now? Democrats are wanting that. So I applaud people like Virginia Governor Youngkin, who is going back to paper ballots. There's a few more states pushing for it too. And I believe in the tradition of integrity, why don't we go back to paper ballots and we really say, okay, this is what the truth of the election really is. Now, Rasmussen came out, and this is where I really want to camp out just for a little bit before we go on to two other stories. Before we talk about the Rasmussen report, a word from our sponsor. I'll be honest with you, I just went on vacation. And when we're on vacation, we can't cook as much, or we can't harvest our own food fresh and eat it. We have to go out and we have to buy food. We have to go to the grocery store and shop like most other people do. Man, what I realized is the food cost is skyrocketing. You know what else? I use cash at a lot of stores, but I was like the only one. Everybody else was swiping their credit card. One thing I've learned though, is that most people have to buy their goods on credit card. Most people cannot afford actually daily living, and they've put themselves in loads of debt just by using credit cards. Sometimes for wants, but sometimes for needs. Now, how can we protect ourselves, and how can we get on a budget, and how can we make sure that we're buying what we need when we're having to use so much debt? when we can't feel like we can ever get to the surface of the water. We feel like we're just drowning in it. Well, that's where American Financing comes along. Yes, they can help you with a home loan, but also they can help you refinance. I would never say you need to borrow money against your home to buy something that you shouldn't buy. I would never tell you to go in more debt. The point of today's video, though, and the sponsor, is to help you get out of debt. Do you know if you're paying minimums at 24 and 26 and 28% interest like some of the credit cards are, you will never get out of debt. Well, American Financing helps you tap into some of your own money and refinance to where then you could get a lower rate to pay those debts off. I'm not telling you to go in more debt. I'm telling you to get a hold of your debt and cut up the credit cards and start living a more frugal life. But it helps when some company comes beside you and says, look, let me help put your debts all in one. Let me help you get a lower interest rate. Well, that's exactly what American Financing does. There's some families that save over $800 by doing this a month. Think of how much money you can use and how much debt you can pay off and how much you don't have to have a credit card if you free up a few $100s a month. Let American Financing come alongside you and help you maybe get a hold on your debts, maybe get a hold on your finances so you get back on a balanced budget and start working towards financial independence. I want to be financial independent. Do I want you borrowing money? No, but I do want you to get out of debt. And if you can find ways to save money and pay more principal on your debt, that's a good thing. Check out AmericanFinancing.net/themax, and I think you will be very, very happy that you did. So Rasmussen came out and stated, Trump is actually winning. Leading report also shared the story that Trump is winning 49 to 44% in the last poll. The sad thing is, the only person reporting this is Rasmussen. They came out and said, sometimes it's lonely being the independent pollster with integrity. Trump is beating Kamala. No one wants to admit it. But just like 4 years ago when we had polls exactly right, these polls are right. Trump is winning. Now, the sad thing is, and the startling revelation is this. I say a startling revelation. It's not startling at all if you believe what we've heard for the last few years of how we've been slighted and lied to. This is the only pollster that's coming out saying Trump is winning. Every other one is tied to big media productions and big media corporations, and every one of them has Kamala up. I told you yesterday's video that sometimes they can do the predictive programming to make you believe that something is real when it's not. So if they kind of tell you that she's winning and this phenomenon of Kamala is going huge, then people will start believing it. It's predictive programming. Not only that, the rally photo from when they pulled up at the airport the other day, and it looked like there was millions of people in the hangar. Now it wasn't. They said it was about 60,000 or so people in that hangar for Kamala. It's Kamala phenomenon. There was a fact checker that came out and stated, let's see if this is AI generated. And they went through and actually diagnosed this whole picture. And this whole picture, it came back to say 92% of it was artificial, was AI generated. So are we really getting truth anymore? Just like Rasmussen says, here we are, independent pollster, we're telling the truth, but why is no one else telling the truth? Because if we can predictively program you to believe something that is not, then you'll believe it and you will go along with it, and then you won't be surprised when the outcome actually happens. Let's go back to Kamala's tweet just from 2019. Paper ballots are the best way to go. That way we know our elections are honest. Now, that's what Republicans are pushing for now too, and it's what Democrats were pushing for back in those years. So why is all of a sudden Democrats pushing for computers to be running our voting? Not only that, days worth of voting. Don't we think that's a little shady? So I think we should go back and listen to Kamala. Paper ballots, 2019. I'm supporting her tweet back from 2019. Let's go back to paper ballots. All right, two more stories before we end. And I think these are huge stories. There was another plot against Trump. A lot of people are not discussing this plot because they busted him before it happened. Now, how did this guy get into the country, and how did they get thwarted? How did all of this get started to say he wanted to, have an attempt on the president? FBI let suspect in plot that wanted to kill Trump into the U.S. even though he was already put out, even though they had memos showing his Iran trips, even though he had ties to the Middle East. Asif Merchant was allowed into America from Pakistan by our FBI. It says the FBI allowed Mr. Merchant, the Pakistani man charged with plotting with Tehran to assassinate the former president, and others to enter the country. And guess what? He entered back in April. It says there was a special publication known as Significant Public Benefit Parole, even though he was flagged by a terrorist watch group saying that he had been traveling in Iran. It showed that the FBI allowed him still into the country. Now, another thing, there's been a story allegedly that he has now been released, and instead of taking him back to the country of origin, they released him back into America. Help me understand that. So we knew he was a bad player. We allowed him still to come into our country. Then we busted him to show like, hey, we're on top of it, but then to allow him to be released once more. Isn't it amazing? Now, how did this man just get in the country in the first place? Don't we have laws against this kind of stuff? But no one talks about it. Here's what's missing. 4 weeks ago, the former president of the United States had an attack on his life. There's also another significant sign of a threat on his life. Do we not find this unbelievable that we're not making more of a deal of it? And I think that's why people don't trust media anymore, because no one has come out with actual true facts. Everybody's gotten more questions now than answered. And there's nothing actually been said about this guy. There's nothing actually been said about the other one. And everybody wants to sweep it under the rug like it never happened. It's really unbelievable. It's where we at. Again, it goes back to that predictive programming. If we can get you onto the next story, if we can get you onto the next thing, if we can get you onto the next panic, the next situation, then you forget about actually what happens. Do you remember that he was attacked just 4 weeks ago? Do you remember just 6 to 8 weeks ago, Kamala was the most unpopular vice president and the most failed part of a presidency ever? She said last week that she was going to lower gas prices and grocery prices if she's elected on day one. Does she realize she is actually part of this administration that's in right now that she could do something with? But instead she wants to gaslight you and say, well, if you elect her, she's going to fix it all. Where's she been for 4 years? And lastly, there was a new report that said Iran unveils new undetectable cruise missiles that they now can use that are highly explosive and can be put with any warhead. Their guard also says that they will use these against U.S. and Israel. Now, there's been a lot of talk of why Iran has not went into Israel. Why Iran has not caused more problems for America. Because they keep threatening it. There's another story that came out that said Putin actually said he's willing to give them arms, give them ammo, and make sure they have everything they need. However, there's a report saying that Putin and Russia is actually what's holding them up, not allowing them to utilize them right now. Now, there could be two things to that. Do I think Putin's a good guy? Do I think Iran's being a nice guy for not doing it? No. Here's what I'm thinking. What if all of a sudden they're saying, I'm going to give you everything you need to attack, but you wait till I say? It puts them in a control element. I told you a few weeks ago, it's amazing how we have seen that true axis of powers come back, and we call it the axis of evil, or, we're setting up for a true world war because now you're building sides. Who's on what side? Who believes in what? And do we believe Iran will attack Israel? Probably. It may not be on Iran's time frame. It may be on Russia's time frame. It may be one of those situations where Russia has a different situation where if they can get the focus off Ukraine, we'll put it on Israel and Iran. That might be the play. Not only that, you have this missile now is undetectable. Now, is that true or not? I don't know. I mean, why would these people always say this kind of stuff if they don't actually mean it? You never know what's true. That's kind of how we started off the video. That's why I stay prepared and I stay as a prepper and I stay very sustainable on my farm. I don't know what's true when it comes to polls. I don't know what's true when it comes to Iran. I don't know what's true when I hear this politician say this or this politician says that. But that again makes me say, I want to learn, I want to research, I want to seek truth. When I don't know that, then I rely back on, of course, my faith, and then rely back on the things that I've done to prepare my family. So that's why I buy the things that I buy. That's why I do the things I do. Last week when the market fell out, I have money in the stock market. I mean, I really do. I have a 401k, I have an IRA, but guess what? All those things are in conservative and a lot of it in money market right now because I've had it in there for years because I just don't trust the volatility of the system. But I don't put all my wealth or all my retirement or all my assets in the stock market. So it did not affect me. Why? Because we've talked about gold, we've talked about silver, we've talked about food, we've talked about farm, we've talked about real estate. So then the panic wasn't so much like other people panicked. I've told you about the risk of crypto. Now crypto came back up, but does that mean that I was worried or in panic over it to get my money out? No, because I was prepared against it. So when we hear stories like the Iran undetectable missiles, when we hear stories about what Kamala and Waltz are trying to do, when we hear these polls that are leaning one way or the other, when we hear that this is AI generated or not, here's what you've got to decide for yourself. Look at everything as cautiously true and how I can prepare to make sure I have insurance against it. If I know that there could be a problem because the southern border's open and we allow terror suspects to come in and to risk our leaders, that could be true. It could be a fake report. It doesn't matter. So the fact is that I want to make sure that my home is protected, that I have defense taken care of, self-defense taken care of, and that I'm always making sure that I have my head on a swivel. That's a good thing. When I know the market is not doing well, that shows that I may not want to have all my money in the market. I may want to have some cash. I may want to have some gold. I may want to have some food. When I hear stories like, well, you know, Trump's going to win. I hope he does because I'm going to vote for him and I'm going to push for that. But I still believe we need paper ballots, and I still believe that we need to get out there and support as much as we can on the conservative traditional values and never get comfortable in thinking this poll or this poll is right or wrong. We build common sense and wisdom off the reports that we get, but we don't live our life in fear and panic. We learn to live through it and we learn to gain wisdom from those things. All of the things that we talk about each and every day, they have one thing in common. It's meant to give you information so you can do deeper research to then prepare your family for whatever the outcome may be. Are we going to be ready for every outcome? No. But if we build enough safety, security, precautions, and preparedness against it, then we will face it in a wiser way, in a more calm way, and that way the panic and the pandemonium that's going around it, it won't affect us as much. So is Trump winning? Independent pollster says yes, but 20 or 30 of them say no. So that means we can never take for granted the fact that he should win in a landslide, because there's states actively working against that. Wisconsin with drop boxes, Michigan with new drop boxes. And then you have on the other side, people wanting to go back to paper ballots. It's always going to be a battle of good and evil. We're always going to see reports that may be false, may be real. It doesn't matter if Kamala's AI-generated claim was there. If she has the system on her side, she is going to be a strong opponent against Trump. And that's where I think we need the Trump of 2016. The very, very motivated, strong presence to where he goes and he is just right in our face all the time. I feel like he's been a little laxed. I would love to see him get a little bit more up close and personal and go back to the fact of this is what I'm looking for. Simple plans. Fix the border, fix the economy, keep Americans at home, and make sure that you can start affording to be an American again, your groceries and your gas. When he starts talking very simplistic and saying, this is what my plans are, bam, 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 3, 4, 5 plans, that's it. When we start doing that and quit getting off on these tangents and quit getting off on character situations, I believe that's where Trump will shine the most. We can never take for granted polls, ones that are in his favor or ones that's not. We have to know that we don't know what real truth is anymore because there's so much biases when it comes to what we're getting. But here's what I do know. If we prepare for everything that we talk about and we start listening to this to gain more wisdom and common sense, then we'll be ready for anything that comes our way. If it be Trump, hopefully, but if not, if it be Kamala, we need to be ready. All right, guys, give me your thoughts on the video. Remember, the way that we get on top of these things is by making sure we have independence, and that's food, that's financial. I mean, it's like the person that we were talking about with our sponsorship. Make sure that you're financially sound, because that's the only way that we're going to have independence, is when we can take care of our finances, we can take care of ourselves physically, mentally, and of course spiritually, because spiritually we need to know that we're grounded in our faith. Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up. It means the world to me. And I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day, wonderful evening. Stay vigilant, seek truth, and God bless.